Some of them need hospitalization. Some of them need their hope revived. Some of them are disturbed. And yet we must somehow, our mission is to be with Simon the leper. At the outcast, disturbed, the hurt, all of them, members of our family. We must not forsake them. We must embrace them and love them. Even in that stressed state, they matter. They too are God's children.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Have you talked to Mayor Bucknutter about the encampment here? Do you have an opinion on whether they should move?
Talk with him. He is obviously a concerned man. You will not see the kind of brutality from him you see in some other places. The occupiers are not trying to get another place. But this issue is not just about a place, it's about a space. Because that space between the homeowners and the banks that exploited them. It is that space between those who cannot get care because of Medicaid. Doctors will not treat them. There's that space growing between the sick and Medicare benefits. There's that space that's not growing between the unemployed. So in many ways, it may be a camp downtown. It may be outside. It may be on the lawn of some hospital that will not treat the poor and turn them away. Or it may be at some bank that's putting on these unbearable student loan debts. It may be at some campus where tuition is too high, student loan debt is unbearable. This movement is a spirit, it will not go away until the fundamental issue of inequality and injustice is addressed. And I'm impressed with the fact this is a growing multiracial, multicultural coalition. Part of our mission is to find a place in the space for people to express themselves. For example, we were the major church just at Triumph Church, 3,000 people. And I asked them several questions. How many of you in this church have a relative in jail? About half of them stood. You know someone who's facing home foreclosure. About half stood. Behind in their rent, everybody stood. You know somebody who is credit card debt. Everybody stood with a kind of collective sigh of, it's not just me. Who has in your house student loan debt? Everybody stood. This one looking for a job, everyone stood. It's almost as if we're in this crisis together and we've learned to reinforce. People in crisis, they must not adjust to it. That's why when people, the community to come here, because if you're facing a home foreclosure, you should be you're unoccupied. You're facing student loan debt, you're unoccupied. Student tuition is too unbearably high, you're unoccupied. If you don't like the fact that we're bailing out banks, locking out the victims, you ought to be fighting back. We fight back with nonviolence and discipline and focus, we win. And so we want to expand the base of participation in this struggle. This is the lineage of Dr. King's struggle for justice for everybody.
What is your opinion? How do you think the Occupy movement will affect this coming election? Your thoughts on, how, as someone I don't know if you're a minister or not, back to the shirt with the Obama button on his hat. I know a lot of people out here talk about they don't really support the system as the way it stands, but I know a lot of us supported Obama and so forth in his run last time. Where do you think their space is in this election?
Well, there are a range of opinions. I think that the movement is evolving in search of for example, in what it meant in Ohio was a fight to protect collective bargaining, and the movement won that struggle. What it means in Florida is a fight to have early voting restored. It means in Wisconsin is a fight to recall a governor who has been unkind to workers and who made voting more difficult. What it means in California is a fight for student loan debt reduction. So there's the spirit that goes wherever the gap is. If there's a student loan gap, there's a too high tuition gap, there's a home foreclosure gap, there's a health gap, political gap. I would think in time, we have months to determine how it will flow toward a given political entity, but people here are free to express their pain. The beauty of it now is that why you're here because we're here. We're here because poverty is here. Now we're discussing poverty for a change, not just discussing the debt ceiling, not just discussing expanding war. We're not just discussing tax cuts, not just discussing some scheme for more money. We're discussing poverty, illiteracy, disease, and hurt. And that itself is a victory. A couple of things happened last week. One was that Bank of America backed away from additional student debt fees. That's a victory. The president went to Colorado and put forth an executive order to reduce some pain on students and some home folks and jobs to veterans. We're very concerned about the plight of veterans. We love them as soldiers, but not so much as veterans. We love martyrs, but not marchers. And when people come back from the war, 33% have no job. Half the homeless men out here are veterans.
Yeah.
And so they too deserve some folks. They don't have lobbyists, but they have themselves, they have us. We will stand together until our appeal address poverty, unemployment, and inequality is addressed in a meaningful way. It's just the challenge there is the people who are the most affected people and seeing this struggle in third person. What about them? The them, you don't have a job, you're the them. You're looking for a student loan that's fair, you are the them. We want the people, and if 50 mayors and 50 cities, they're 20,000 to address the crisis in their cities, access to public transportation and schools and jobs. In fact, that would make the movement really work for everybody. We're setting the climate, yes ma'am.
I'm just wondering if you have an opinion that this construction project is supposed to employ 800 people over 2 years, and that's why these guys have the signs back here. What would your opinion be and how that should weigh into whether the group should move or not?
These marches are nonviolent and disciplined, trying to figure out a way to adjust to the project. On the other hand, they also want the job. Also, there's too much violence. That's the big deal. You know, last week with all of the news breaking, someone was able to get an AK-47, a semi-automatic weapon, shoot in the White House bedroom. That's 800 yards away. Suppose it was 600 yards away. Someone was on the balcony. We must fight to revive ban on assault weapons. There's too much violence. We've lost 6,000 Americans in Iraq and Afghanistan in about 10 years. There's 30,000 a year home to gun violence. 100,000 more injured who do not die, who are very expensive to maintain because of the health crisis. So, a part of the gap, we must become less violent. We must revive the ban on assault weapons. Do not take lightly that someone shot in the White House last week the semi-automatic weapon.
Kind of didn't answer the question about the
what about the 800 jobs?
Jobs that's supposed to take place on this site.
Yeah, I mean, that's the jobs. The point is, we want jobs. But this is not about just about a place, it's about a space. We must find a space and a place to camp. There's enough room in the city, enough room in parks for people to express themselves. Let those non-violent expressions be made manifest without pepper spray, without arrest, without violence. The violence really is coming from banks. It's economic violence. People are getting bailed out by the government and getting huge bonuses while people are getting unemployment. That's economic violence. The banks put people in predicament where you borrow money for a student loan. You can't even come out with bankruptcy. That is economic violence. The violence is coming right now from Wall Street down. People are fighting back. And the good news is they're fighting back in a massive way, in a nonviolent, disciplined way. And if we remain nonviolent and focused and disciplined, we will prevail.
And that's what it's all about.
Indeed.
And what is it? I'm sorry, and you may have spoken on this at the beginning, but your place, the minister's place, what is your contribution, I guess, or the minister's contribution to the Occupy movement?
Just as the ministers had to do mass mobilization in the 60s, they must do it now. After all, the churches are full of members who are looking for a job, members who are behind in their rent, members who are unemployed, members whose children are in jail, who can't get to school. Every pain expressed in the Occupy zone is in some church. It's in some frat, in some sorority. We the people, this movement belongs to the people. The people must be involved in the struggle. It occupies a spirit, an idea whose time has come to address gross gap between those on the deck of the ship and those in the hull of the ship. We must close that gap. This land is our land. It belongs to all of us.
Thank you.
Excuse me, friend.
How much money did you get for Banks, Jackson?
How much money?
Everybody.
I ain't doing
Even
that.
though these cases have come up with the Occupy movement, everybody protesting, do you think that all of this is going to make a difference in the outcome? What is going to be the
Well,
change?
you know, one of the things Occupy has done, we already changed the climate. Before they go public now with another big bonus,
No, he
to
can't
think
get
of what the
elected, so
public
it's right in
opinion
the back of the
for the
Occupy movement.
occupiers' sake. before they have another bailout without Lincoln Linden, public occupiers. And we're creating public consciousness. Now, for some people that means more voter registration. For some people that means these vacant houses and abandoned lots.
When are you gonna pitch your tent,
We should
Jesse?
stay in those lots, in those houses. If you took 25% of the foreclosed houses, remove the boards and put up window panes, begin to paint those houses, you put people back to work, just reconstructing what the banks destroyed. We want to reconstruct what the banks have destroyed.
Amen. Amen.
And we've been to the occupied camps in New York, in Chicago, Detroit, Toledo, and Los Angeles, in South Africa, Atlanta, here in Philadelphia, around the country. Rainbow Push Coalition, getting a feel for what people are. And there are some common threads we see every place we go. People really do want to work. Some people really do want mental health care. Some really do want detox. Some really do want a house to live in. Some do really want to be able to afford to go to school. We find a commonality of this occupiers is closing, it's addressing the inequality gap. And it manifests itself in many ways. It may be health care, a lack of it, it may be housing, it may be jobs. Occupy is a spirit aligned in addressing the inequality gap.
Just because these people want it, does that mean that doesn't mean that they're going to get it? Like,
Well, not these people, you or these people. We will get it. We've never fought a battle and lost. We've never won a battle unless we fought. So when we fight, we win. When the people fight back and fight the long train of abuses, we win. That's what democracy looks like. And so now we will keep on occupying and keep on expanding. Thank you guys very much. You, man. Oh, you're not done yet? Thank you very much.